Sexual assault can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter necessarily what background you come from. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter your sexual preference. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short, have green eyes or brown eyes. You could become a victim of sexual assault.
Sexual assault happens to lots of men, and the military numbers are staggering. The number of men who are sexually assaulted, whenever you tell people the statistics, they're like, there's no way. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We find that the prevalence of male sexual assaults that go unreported is probably equal in actual numbers to those of female victims within the department because of the sheer magnitude of males being a higher percentage in the department than females.
It just seems like it happens more often to the women because there's fewer of them, so we tend to focus primarily on the women. But there's a lot of men that get out there sexually assaulted as well. We don't hear about it as much because our pride, our ego, the embarrassment, things like that. But they're out there.
Some of the stories that I've heard are just vicious. I mean, male-on-male sexual assault is the pinnacle of dominance. It's the pinnacle of power and control.
I know when I go and speak about it, that's a very uncomfortable topic for people, and it's still very taboo. And people don't want to listen to it because it makes them uncomfortable.
And I think that until we're more comfortable about talking about things like male-on-male sexual assault, it's going to continue to happen.
I know that me sharing my experience may give one person hope.
It's interesting how that's actually helped me a lot more than anything else. Just to be able to talk and then be able to give my story, but then have grown men come up and crying, saying, "You're my hero, and this has helped me help with a certain situation of my own."
Male victims are much less likely to report than female victims. They think that they will be considered homosexual, or that they will be considered less macho, or that there was something that they did that caused them to be assaulted.
This is a crime, and a lot of times it's about power. It's about holding something over somebody. It's about, I'll show them. Having this discussion with men is difficult because men are supposed to be the strong ones, and I can't get sexually assaulted. I'm a guy. I should have put up a fight. I'm stronger.
And what people don't understand about rapists and people who sexually assault, especially the violent ones, is that it's not about them getting sexual gratification. It's about the power and the control, and that's how they get off, is they want that power and control.
I was confused as to what had happened, how I had let this happen. There was a lot of blame.
No matter how strong you are, no matter how proficient you are in martial arts, no matter how big you are, things can happen.
I don't think boys are told, you need to be careful, you might be sexually assaulted someday. I don't think they get that message. So when they are sexually assaulted, they're coming with a different stigma or social pressure that says, this isn't supposed to happen to me because I'm a man. So what does this say about me?
The hardest thing about dealing with all of that, about telling my family, was hearing my father say, I have 3 daughters, and I always thought I'd had to worry about my 3 daughters, but I never thought I'd have to worry about my son.
For them, in their minds, it brings in questions regarding their masculinity.
I mean, it's just that whole pride thing and masculinity thing.
And one of the biggest struggles that I've had is feeling emasculated by this.
It doesn't matter if you're an all-male command or you all carry weapons and we're supposed to be strong and be able to fight everything off. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it works.
Instances of sexual assault create a tremendous amount of vulnerability for the victim. And so they are very sensitive to the questions that will be asked and their perception of how they, are received or viewed.
When you start to treat me as a victim, you might as well stamp it on my forehead. Oh, we have to baby him because he's got this blemish. It's not a character flaw. It's an experience. I'm still H.N. Pullen. I'm still Blake. I'm not victim. I'm not survivor. That's something about me. That's not who I am.
The Uniform Victim Advocate and the SARC will check in with the victim. You don't have to constantly remind them, I know you're a victim of sexual assault. I'm just checking in today to make sure everything's going okay, because sometimes it can be too much.
This senior chief, he treats me like a human. He doesn't treat me as somebody who's inferior to him and somebody who has this big boo-boo on his record.
If you're a survivor of this crime, and one of the biggest things is you feel alone and that no one understands, but you have to realize that there are people who understand, who have been through similar situations, and that you're not alone, and that it's so important to find support, whether it's going to see a therapist, being part of a support group, talking to family, friends. It's just so important, and no one should be afraid to report this.
That one moment that someone comes up and they just say, are you doing all right? And they legitimately, like, you know that they really want to help. That moment is whenever it's just everything. You just feel like all the weight's off your shoulders.
It's going to come out in a bad way at some point if you keep it bottled up, whether that's drug addiction, alcoholism, suicide, violence.
If you try to bottle it up, it's going to explode. So utilize the resources that we have that are put there that are non-judgmental, and they help so much.
And it just gets hard with dealing with anxiety and the depression, and at some points you just want to give up. You don't want to live anymore.
I work in mental health. I've seen what it can do, and I've seen firsthand the havoc that it can cause in others. And I tried to treat it myself, and I know how bad you can fail at it. I know the thoughts that can hit your head, and I know the dark places that you can go to.
The really important thing is having that support. Whether you go and you see someone, a counselor, every week, or whether you just have your advocate checking up on you every now and then. I still keep in touch with my advocate that I had, so it just helps a lot.
If you have the power to come out and to be able to talk to one person, that's 50% of the weight that someone else can carry for you.
I know that I'm going to come out the other side of this. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop fighting.
I feel like because I'm speaking about it, that I'm not letting him win, and that every day that I continue on living is another day that I win and that he loses.